Hi everybody and welcome. Happy New Year. So now that it's the new year, it's the perfect time to start with some new recipe ideas. One thing that's important to keep in mind when you're making New Year's goals or any goal in general about being healthy is that being healthy doesn't always have to be about taking away. It can also be about adding more. Like adding more fruits and vegetables. So today's recipe is a great way to do that on a budget too.
All right, so today's recipe is rice bowl Southwest style. This recipe is a healthy and inexpensive recipe that you can make for yourself or for your family. One of the nice things about this recipe and many others is that you can customize it. What you see us using today, you can change. Recipes are suggestions, they're not rules. And this recipe is from the SnapEd NY website, and the link will be below. The first thing I want to start with today, because this is going to take the longest amount of time, is the chicken. And I'll talk a little bit more about this chicken later on, but I want to start cooking it now. This pan, I've been warming it up a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit of oil in the pan, and then I'm going to add my chicken. Oh, thank you. All right. I have this heating at about medium heat. I'll probably adjust it. We do want to hear some sizzling. We want to make sure this chicken gets fully cooked so it's tasty and delicious. All right.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to grab our bowl. This is what we're going to make our recipe in. And for the base of today's recipe, we're going to be using brown rice. So we're going to be using about half a cup of brown rice. So let me get my half cup and measure this out. We are using brown rice today because it's a whole grain. At SnapEd, we love to say to make half of your grains, or try to make half of your grains whole grains. This is because whole grains are really healthy for our bodies. They're heart healthy and they're really great for our digestion. As you can see, we also had a bit of green stuff in our brown rice today. This is cilantro. While we're going to be using cilantro later on as a garnish, one way to make the most of your produce with cilantro is you can actually use the stems to flavor your rice. So when Everett made the rice, he chopped up the stems really fine and he just added it to the water while the rice was cooking, and it's a really great and inexpensive way to flavor your rice. We're also going to have a link to some videos on how we made the rice and marinated the chicken in the links below. Another way you can flavor your rice is with dried cilantro because it will rehydrate in the water. Rice is a really great base ingredient for a lot of recipes because it can help you save time and money. If time is more important to you, you can use instant rice to cook it really quickly. Or if you're like me, you can cook rice in big batches like we did, and that way you can put it in the freezer for later, or you can refrigerate it to use it throughout the week. Like we said before too, this recipe is so great because it's super customizable. So you don't just have to use rice, you can use any other type of grain you like and that you have on hand. So Everett, what other type of grain might you use?
I would use quinoa. I love quinoa. Quinoa is also a healthy whole grain, and it actually cooks a little bit faster than brown rice. And the nice thing about quinoa is that it actually has quite a bit of protein in there, which leads me into what I'm going to talk about now. So, as you can maybe hear, and unfortunately you can't smell, this chicken here is cooking. And if you notice, I have some seasoning on this chicken. This is a spice blend that I put together. And one of the nice things about a spice blend like this is that you can customize it and you can reduce the amount of salt that's in there, which is what I did. A lot of pre-made spice blends are very, very high in sodium, and too much sodium can cause problems like high blood pressure and things like that. Protein is a great thing for our bodies because it's the building block of our bodies. Protein helps keep our muscles strong and helps our immune system in some ways too. Another great food that is a protein food in this recipe is right here. Some black beans. Similar to how we want to be keeping an eye out for sodium in our spice mixes, we also want to be keeping our eye out for sodium in things like canned beans and canned vegetables. In the case of some examples, like we'll see in a little while, you can find low sodium or salt-free options at the supermarket. But in the case of these black beans, we weren't able to find that, and that's okay. What I'm about to do is I'm going to go rinse these beans and rinse off some of that extra water that's in the can, which contains quite a bit of sodium. When I do that, about 40% of the sodium that would be in these beans gets washed away, which is a great way to reduce the amount of sodium that we eat. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now.
And again, if you don't like black beans, you can use any other type of bean that you like or you have on hand. I bet pinto beans or kidney beans would also taste great in this recipe. Okay, so after it rinses our beans and checks on our chicken, I'm going to get started with our vegetables. So as you can see here today, I've got a lovely variety of colors. At SnapAd, we like to say that you should try to vary your vegetables. One way you can do this is try to see how many different colors of fruits and vegetables you can have throughout the day. Or, like we like to say, try to catch a rainbow of fruits and vegetables every day. This is important because different colors of fruits and vegetables have different nutrients that our bodies need. So to start off with tomatoes are super healthy for us because they're mostly made of water. So they can actually help us stay a little more hydrated. You can use any type of tomato that you like. Today we chose grape tomatoes because if you keep them whole, we diced them up today, but if you keep them whole, they can last for about a week in your pantry or on your counter. So I'm just going to start chopping these up a little finer for today's recipe, but you can chop them up to however you like. So grape tomatoes are a little bit harder to chop, but Everett helped me out by cutting them in half to begin with. So now I can just lay them flat and I can cut them into even smaller bite-sized pieces. They are going to be a little bit juicy, but that's okay. You can scrape the seeds into your bowl if you like, or maybe if you don't like the watery seed part, you can leave that out. Another easier way to cut tomatoes is you can use a serrated knife. That can make things a little easier too if you don't have very sharp knives, because the skin on the tomatoes can be a little tough to cut. So you can try using a small serrated knife as well. I'm gonna maybe cut up one more, and then I'm gonna put this in our rice bowl. Oh, sorry. It's right here. All right, so I'm just gonna pick up my cutting board and just put those right on top of our rice. And I'm just gonna give this a quick rinse. Okay. Okay, for our orange vegetable today, we're going to be using an orange bell pepper. Bell peppers are super great for our bodies because they have a lot of vitamin C. In fact, bell peppers have more vitamin C than any other type of fruit and vegetable. One tip you can do to make cutting bell peppers easier is try what I'm doing today. So I've placed my bell pepper flat on my cutting board, and I'm going to start by just cutting off the top. By cutting off the top, this makes it easy to grab the insides and to pull the seeds right out of our pepper so we don't have to eat that. And it's a pretty clean and easy way to do that. And I'm just gonna kind of pick the rest of them out of there. Now I can lay it flat again, cut it down the middle. And start dicing it. I also like to kind of flatten mine out a little bit like this to make them a little bit easier to cut. And you can cut it from the inside to make that easier as well, because sometimes if we don't have super sharp knives, this can be a little difficult, like the tomatoes, to get through the tough skin. So I'm cutting it the long way, and now I'm turning it around, and I'm just cutting it into little bite-sized dices. When cutting anything, always remember to use your knife safety tips and tricks so we can avoid hurting ourselves. So I'm just going to put these diced peppers back in my little bowl. And we're gonna saute these with the corn later. So moving on to our yellow vegetable, we're gonna be using corn today. Corn is really great for our bodies because it's a great source of fiber. And fiber is super important for our digestion. So we were able to find a no salt added option for corn at the grocery store today, but don't worry if you can't. Just like we were talking about before with black beans, the same goes for any canned vegetable. If you're trying to watch your sodium, you can simply rinse the canned veggies in a colander, and that'll get rid of about half of the extra sodium that was put in the can. So if ever you don't mind, just rinse that for us. Or we're not rinsing it, I suppose, but we're just gonna drain the water. We don't want the water from the corn in today's recipe. Thank you.
We talk about avocado.
Yeah, so moving on to our green from the rainbow today, we are going to be using an avocado for our green. While avocados can be a little bit more on the expensive side, you can find them for cheaper if you buy them during when they're in season. While avocados aren't grown locally in New York, they are imported. They still have a season that's better for importing. So this is going to be through November through April. They're going to be a little bit cheaper and a little more ripe. So avocados are really great for our bodies because they have a lot of heart-healthy fats. And Everett's going to show us how we can tell if an avocado is ripe and ready. And he's also going to show us how to cut one.
All right. So here's an avocado. You may have enjoyed these in guacamole or on top of something like a rice bowl we're going to make today. When you look for an avocado at the supermarket, what you want to see is one that is about this color. This is a great sign. And what that also, another way to check is to give it a little squeeze. Don't mush it, but give it a little squeeze. If there's a little bit of give, that's a good sign that your avocado is ready to use. If it's too mushy, it's probably not a good one to get. And if it's really hard, that's okay, but just understand that it might need to take a few days either on your countertop or in a paper bag to speed it up a little bit. Another nice thing about avocados is, let's say you bought an avocado that wasn't quite ready on a Monday, but you're planning on using it on a Thursday. That's a great way to go because then it'll be perfect by the time you're actually planning on using it. So inside every avocado, there's a little pit right in the middle there. And so knowing that, I'm going to cut around the outside of the avocado, just like this. Safety tip, don't cut it like this. Cut it like this, okay? All right. So now I have cut not through the seed, but around the seed. And now I'm going to twist it, and it should pop open just like that, right? And now what we see is the pit that I was talking about is right there. And then here's some of that avocado I'm going to take it, I'm going to put it on my cutting board. This is a little dangerous, so be careful. And I'm going to hit it with the knife. I'm going to twist it carefully. And then I'm going to take this pit and push from this side right into the garbage can. If you want, you can grow a tree with those. Next step is I'm going to take a nice big spoon. I'm going to scoop that avocado out as best as I can. Lay it flat. I'm going to do that with the other half. Put that one down. And now I'm going to cut it into nice little pieces that'll look really good on top of our rice bowl. It should be really easy to cut. It's very soft.
One tip when you're cutting the pit out of the avocado too is just don't do it with your knife from too high above. That's going to increase your risk of slipping with your knife. Or if you don't feel comfortable doing it with the knife method, you can also just scoop it out with a spoon. It might be a little bit slippery though. All right. We also have a lime for our green, but we're going to be using this later as a bit of a garnish on top. And last but not least, for our purple and blue group, we're going to be using a red onion today. When looking for onions, you want them to be firm and have this papery texture for the peel on the outside. That's how you know one is ready. Onions are really great for our bodies because they have a lot of antioxidants that can help with our immune system. And they're also a really inexpensive way to add some extra flavor. So to cut an onion, I'm going to start with cutting off the top. And now that I have this flat edge, I'm going to put it on the flat edge to make it easier. And now I'm going to cut through the middle. Once you've done that, you should be able to easily peel off the outside layer. If you're having a little bit of difficulty, you can do a shallow cut in the middle, and that'll give you a little bit more surface to peel with. You'll also want to cut off the other end of the onion as well. Okay. I didn't do a perfect job today, but that's okay. Now that I have my onion ready to chop, I'm going to use the back of my knife to scrape the discard to the side. It's important to use the back of your knife when you're scraping on a cutting board because it will keep your knife sharp for longer and not dull the blade. So now to dice an onion, I'm going to cut it the long way. Always making sure to use that claw method with your hands. And now I'm kind of going to reassemble it back to how it was. Turn it the other way. And chop again. I also forgot to mention before with the tomatoes and bell peppers. While tomatoes and bell peppers can be a little bit more on the expensive side, again, these will have a growing season where they're going to be less expensive to purchase them during. So for tomatoes, bell peppers, and red onions in New York, their growing season is between July and October, and that's when you can get them for the best price. Now that my onions are diced up, I'm just going to put them in this bowl and save for later.
All right.
Okay.
So now we're putting it together, right?
Yes. Now we're going to start assembling
Right.
our bowl.
All right, so some of the things that we're going to add to this recipe, other than the veggies, the rice, the chicken, are some nice things to put on top. And one of the things I'm going to be adding is some of this cheese blend. This cheese blend has 15% of our daily value of calcium A glass of milk has about 25, so that's a pretty high level of calcium for something. We like calcium because it helps keep our bones nice and strong. It also helps keep our teeth strong. So we're going to add some of the cheese to this.
Beautiful. Yeah, when you're cooking this recipe, adding the cheese before you put in the hot ingredients, like the chicken, can make it really tasty because the heat from the chicken is gonna melt that cheese nicely.
Great. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this chicken here. Some of this chicken is looking like it's ready. You can see some nice color on there. This is a nice thing to do if you wanted, buying a lot of chicken, seasoning a lot, cooking a lot, and then you have it ready to go. But one of the best ways to tell if chicken's ready is to take the internal temperature. And so with chicken and things like poultry, turkey, things like that, you want to make sure that the chicken has an internal temperature of 165. That's how we know it's safe to eat. So I'm going to check and see, and if I need to, I can put it back in the pan. Okay. And with some of these old school thermometers, they do take a little while, about 15 seconds to tell whether or not they're ready. All right. Looks like we're just about there. I'm going to cut some of this chicken up. I'm going to actually throw it back in the pan just to kind of finish cooking it all around, and then we'll be able to add that to the recipe. Okay. It smells amazing. I'm going to give it a little more time in the pan, especially some of these bigger pieces.
And once that chicken is done, we're going to saute our bell peppers and corn today to give it that roasted look that you might see in restaurants. To continue assembling our bowl, I'm also going to add our black beans now. So I'm going to add about half a cup of black beans here.
All right. So how much chicken?
We're going to do half a cup of chicken.
Half a cup of chicken.
So let me get you that.
Thank you. All right.
Beautiful. And I have this plate for you to put the rest of the chicken on. So here's how it's looking so far. And we're actually just going to use the same pan to saute our bell peppers and corn. And the oil and flavor from the chicken will be perfect to flavor our bell peppers and corn.
All right.
So I'm just going to toss those in here. You can roast them or saute them on high heat, stirring infrequently, and that will give you that nice roasted look that you may have seen before. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start adding the rest of our veg into our bowl. So we have our tomatoes all ready. We did that before. I'm gonna add some of our red onions now. For the rest of this, it's really up to your liking how much veg you would like to add. I'm probably going to do about a quarter cup of each. So we've got our red onions. We've got some avocado. I'm going to put that off to the side in the corner. And then we also have some other toppings today as well. So the recipe says that you can use cheese, sour cream, or salsa, but today we decided to use all three. That's okay too. It's up to your preferences. So the first topping we're gonna have today is sour cream. Sour cream is really just an ingredient to add for extra flavor. Sour cream doesn't really have any essential nutrients that our bodies need. So for that reason, we did buy light sour cream today. It's a great option if you still really want that sour cream flavor, but you don't want as much saturated fat or calories. So I'm going to put a dollop of sour cream right in the middle. Our next topping is going to be salsa. We just have a generic medium salsa from the grocery store today. Salsa is another great way to add some low-calorie flavor to your food. So we did about 2 tablespoons of sour cream, and we're going to do about 2 tablespoons of salsa in the corner. And then we're going to wait until our veg is done before we add our final topping, the cilantro for garnish.
I'm thinking this corn and pepper are looking good. What do you think?
That looks great to me. Yeah, you can keep them in until they have turned a little golden brown, or you can just do it until they're hot. That will make it.
Do you want all of it in there?
We'll do about a 1/4 cup or about a 1/2 cup, so it's a 1/4 cup of each.
Okay. There we go.
Beautiful. So now for our final toppings, you can sprinkle a little cilantro on top if you like. Maybe you don't like cilantro, you could try chives or green onion for a little pop of color. And then just for a little extra flavor, we were gonna squeeze some lime juice right on top. And there you have it, a fully loaded rice bowl Southwestern style. So how much did this cost to make, Everett?
So this altogether cost around $3.28, adding up the ingredients that we use in this recipe. And if you were to get something that's just like this at your favorite Tex-Mex takeout restaurant, fast casual type of place, you know the one, this would cost you about $12.65. So not only are we able to have a healthy version of a rice bowl, but we're also able to save a lot of money, and we are able to customize this however we want. Another great thing about this recipe is that this recipe is a meal prep king. You can have your rice ready to go, you can have your chicken ready to go, whatever vegetables and seasonings and ingredients you want to add to it, you can have ready to go. And then this is something you could put together quickly in the morning, a little bit of rice, a little chicken, and all the other ingredients. And you can have this for lunch, and this is a great way to save some money during the work week too.
Yeah, it's a really great recipe for that. $3.28 versus $12.65 is a huge difference, and we have plenty enough leftovers for, like Everett said, to share with the family, or you can just keep it in the fridge and repeat throughout the week. So if you're like me, I like to make the chicken and the rice in bulk, and then each day you can just chop up your the veg that you want to put in it that day. It's a great meal prep for lunch, to have a quick dinner for when you get home. You can just throw it in the microwave and then top with your favorite toppings, and there you go. So yeah, what's your burrito bowl order? Thanks for watching.